Confusion about In Order to Form a More Perfect Union by Anna von Reitz. Here is another fundamental misunderstanding and a virulent half-truth that we have been taught in the course of our public school educations. To grasp what the preamble of the Constitution is talking about, we have to understand that backstory of what was going on at the time and the history leading up to that moment, which is never, ever discussed in any American history class. There were 3 unions in play at this time. Which one are we talking about? The soil jurisdiction states of the original colonies formed their union on July 1, 1776 and declared it to the world July 4, 1776. Notice this is a union of states. Small s. This formed the union known as the United States. The second union composed of land jurisdiction states is the unincorporated holding company known as the United States of America, created September 9, 1776. This is a union known as a federation of states. Notice, states, not states, and not states of states. The third union, also formed during the Revolutionary War, is a confederation of states of states. This original confederacy was formed March 1, 1781. This one is the union that is being referenced as being made more perfect in the preamble of the constitutions. All 3 of them. How can I be sure of this? Well, look at the subject matter of the constitutions. What do the constitutions do? They lay out the structure, duties, and responsibilities of the federal government and deal with nothing but international affairs in the specific realm of commerce. Even the so-called Interstate Commerce Clause needs to be interpreted as the International Commerce Clause, because in America all states are also nations. Interstate is synonymous with international in this country. So, the Union being perfected and referenced in the preamble is obviously the Union of the original Confederacy of States known as the States of America, formed under the Articles of Confederation in 1781. This relationship between the actual states and the Federation of States doing business as the United States of America and the Confederation of States doing business as the States of America is in fact why the federal government is called federal. The second union is a federation. That is, the Federation states own and are supposed to operate the States of America, and that is why we call it the federal government instead of the Confederate government. In other words, the Federation state known as Georgia owns and is supposed to operate the Confederate state of state known as the state of Georgia, much like Ford Motor Company owns and operates the Mustang model and brand name. This all got mucked up in the wake of the so-called Civil War, but that's how it is supposed to operate. This is also why, when the Southern States of States seceded from the Federal Union, that is, from the States of America organization, they called themselves the Confederate States of America. They had already been functioning as states of states within a confederacy of states for many years prior to the Civil War. This is also why the organic Constitution is called the Constitution for the United States of America. Notice that the word Union is used as a descriptive adjective and is not part of the proper name of the original Confederacy of States. Very clearly, according to English grammar, this is the Constitution for the States of America, not the United States of America. Also examine the use of the word for in the name given to the organic constitution. This is an agreement being entered into by the states in behalf of and therefore for the States of America. The states, Ford Motor Company, are making an agreement affecting their states of states, Mustang, Explorer, etc. Finally, you can now discern the half-truth we were told in grade school about the constitutions replacing the Articles of Confederation. Long prior to the adoption of the constitutions, the Holy Roman Empire had established 3 levels of government operating commercial entities in the international jurisdiction of the sea with separate functions designated to each: national, territorial and municipal. Prior to the constitutions, under the Articles of Confederation, we had one entity, the States of America, responsible for all 3, but after the constitutions, our commercial operations all got sorted out so as to mesh with this already established European system. Thus, our school teachers could say that in a sense the constitutions replaced the Articles of Confederation, but that is at best a euphemistic half-truth. The constitutions separated the functions of the original States of America into federal, territorial, and municipal subcontracts, so that the federal government was separated into state-controlled federal, British-controlled territorial, and Holy See-controlled municipal levels of government. The underlying organization, the States of America, did not disappear and the Articles of Confederation did not lose force. However, some of the service contracts once held entirely by the States of America were split up and parceled out to the British territorial government and papal government, respectively. All of this federal government structure was set up to control commerce, which is business conducted between incorporated entities, all operating in the international jurisdiction of the sea. Nothing else. The entire federal government has nothing whatsoever to do with our lawful states nor our federation, the United States of America, except that they are employees of ours. None of them have any rights or prerogatives or powers apart from those set forth in the respective constitutions established in 1787, 1789, and 1790. The federal constitution is called the Constitution for the United States of America. See? This constitution is set up to control and delegate certain powers to the Confederacy of States, like the state of Florida, the state of Maine, et alia, owned and operated as commercial business enterprises by the Federation of States, doing business as the United States of America, and its members, Florida, Maine, Texas, et alia. The British Territorial United States Constitution is called the Constitution of the United States of America. Notice that this "the" is not part of the proper name, and does not refer to our Federation of States, the United States of America. The Municipal United States Constitution is called the Constitution of the United States. Notice that there is no reference to "of America," and notice again that this "the" is not part of the proper name and therefore does not refer to the United States, which is our first and primary union of soil jurisdiction colony, states. The entire federal government, all three branches of it, was put in charge of just 19 stipulated commercial services that the states agreed to receive and pay for, to be delivered by 1. Their own federal States of States organization doing business as the States of America, 2. The British territorial government doing business as the United States of America, and 3. The municipal government of the District of Columbia doing business as the United States. Other than the fact that our states agreed to pay for the stipulated services and to delegate the powers necessary to allow the subcontractors to deliver them, none of this refers to our states nor to our Union of States. It all very restrictively concerns commerce and commercial service contracts and the States of America Confederacy set up in 1781, the other Union, the one composed of states of states. So, all this while, American school children have been deliberately left half-informed so as to promote further self-interested fraud against our country. We were left to believe that all these constitutions and the institutions they created were meant to rule over us, but in fact, they are our employees and meant to serve us. We were left to believe that there was only one constitution, when in fact there are three. Deceived by our own employees and deprived in breach of trust by our international trustees on the high seas and navigable inland waterways and also in the global jurisdiction of the air, a vast and criminal conspiracy against our constitutions and the commercial services agreements they embody has resulted in incalculable damage to our country and our people for 6 generations. We do in fact deserve a far more perfect union of functions and a far more honest understanding of the relationships, rights, and duties associated with all the various entities concerned. We are owed the return of our federal States of States together with their unimpaired assets and powers. We are owed good faith service from our territorial and municipal employees. And most of all, we are due correction of all this fraud, racketeering, and criminality. No incorporated municipal Congress has any authority to undermine or overturn the public law. Those members of such Congress who have usurped upon the actual government of this country must be returned. Their corporations must be liquidated and no new charter may be issued to these individuals however renamed and rebranded. No incorporated territorial Congress has any authority to undermine or overturn the public law. Those members of such Congress who have usurped upon the actual government of this country must be returned and remanded under military law. Their corporations must be liquidated and no new charter may be issued to these individuals however renamed and rebranded. We hope that we have made our wishes in this matter perfectly clear. It is time for these abuses to end and for the governments involved in these travesties to deeply reconsider their position with respect to the public law of this country, to international law, including the various conventions and United Nations declarations and their own declared rule of law, and global law, including natural and divine law. In all these venues we find them lacking and call upon the nations of the earth to recognize how they have also been abused by these same bad actors. This is not just an American problem. This fraud has been left unchecked for 150 years and it has usurped the governments of most of the countries worldwide. The perpetrators of this vast scheme have proposed to murder a large proportion of humanity. Propelled by greed and a total lack of moral compass, they have misappropriated and misapplied defense equipment and military forces for private corporate gain. They have misdirected banks to steal depositors' assets. They have rigged currency markets and elections. They have promoted the largest, most vile kidnapping and human trafficking scheme in history. No wonder they are afraid. No wonder some of them have repented. No wonder that some continue to try to circle the wagons. At the end of the day it remains for us, the adults in the room, to settle this hash, and not with paper and band-aids, but with actual restoration of the national governments and the public law. These gangs of thieves and spies, defense contractors, liars, manipulators, and treasonous scum cannot be allowed to triumph in any regard. And they must not be allowed to simply choose a new name, location, and victim. The great fraud is at its inevitable end. Please hit subscribe, like, share, embed, and get ready for many more Anna von Reitz videos.